It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Why not do what you enjoy? You can create a blog. You can be a podcaster. You can do a YouTube channel. There's people making millions of dollars by playing video games.
That's it. I love playing video games, or I'm an expert in a field, or maybe I'm just funny and entertaining. Why wouldn't someone pay to get my thoughts, my ideas, my creativity, or just me curating something fun in life, like out there doing trick shots? Surely that's got to be something I can make money doing.
So let's show them the brochure. This is what they sell you on the brochure, is that you can get rich playing video games, making slime videos, unboxing toys for the kiddios. I mean, there's all kind of things. Or this is where it's like I was talking about. You can be in the Greek Isles, and in between the ferry ride from one Greek isle to another island to another, you can just get off and blog, and your life is beautiful.
That's right.
I mean, this is the dream. The reality check is, I'm going to be honest, this is something we know something about.
Just a thing or two.
It is tough to build an audience. Growing your tribe is hard for many reasons. And let's kind of just jump in here. I'll start off first with YouTube. YouTube, anybody who's talked to me, I guess, you know how I said I'm not going around giving conferences?
You're literally about to do it right now.
I'm about to give
it's
away
so
some
funny.
free
As
advice.
you were saying that, I was like, he doesn't.
But you know what? It's
going to
okay, because this doesn't give them everything. This just gives them a taste of what they're going to face if they do this.
Fair enough.
So YouTube is so much like a dysfunctional relationship. And what do I mean by that? Is that you first time you see YouTube, it catches your eye. And you're like, oh.
She's pretty.
Got a tingle there. Definitely the hair on the arm is standing up. I think I'm interested in this YouTube thing. So you start paying attention to YouTube and you start trying to create content. But guess what YouTube's doing to you for the first 90 days that you're doing this? It's ignoring you. I'm telling you, this is a dysfunctional relationship. You are, besides your family, your friends, your mother, nobody's watching your content. And you're like, wow, I got to do this. I've done this for 3 months and only my family and friends are seeing this. That's what the first 3 months is like. Fast forward, so you've done this 90 days. Now YouTube, the algorithm wakes up and it's like, oh, he's going to keep creating content. I guess I'll start paying him a little attention. So you will start to see, you'll start being in this relationship that's a dysfunctional 28-day cycle, meaning that YouTube's going to love on you for 28 days and promote your content through the algorithm. And then all of a sudden, just as you start getting excited and thinking that you're figuring something out, YouTube is going to disappear again.
Yep.
And you'll be like, whoa, I want more of what I got last month. That 28 days where I was growing was pretty incredible. You go, what's going on here? And this cycle keeps repeating where it really is this up and down, but you keep going a little bit higher through the content creation process. But this is not going to be easy whatsoever. And here's the other part is you have to consistently create content.
Yeah, I think what's so funny, Brian, and we talk about this all the time, is when someone first starts a YouTube channel or whatever they're going to pursue, generally the first couple ones, they might not be the best ones, but they're the ones that you've put the most effort into because you think everything has to be perfect. You have your words perfect and the screenshot perfect and all the transitions. You know, Daniel makes stuff spin around and be all pretty. You do all of that stuff early on and then nobody listens to it. So it is like disheartening, right? Like you feel very, like you just put all this effort into this thing that does nothing. It kind of plays some mental mind games with you for sure.
Yeah, because you're writing all, and truthfully, I think a lot of people, they probably get their best ideas out in the first 8 weeks. I mean, you go and you throw up out there all your content, and you're like, whoa, now what? Because that's the first question. When we go to conferences like FinCon, Podcast Movement, people go, how do you keep coming up with content? And it is one of those things. I will tell you have to have an editorial calendar. You have to do things because this goes on year after year. Think about if you have to create, like I know YouTube, because we're in the middle of talking about YouTube. It requires 4 pieces of fresh content every week if you want to maximize the algorithm. That's what the research shows for us. So you have to do 4 pieces of content, 52 weeks a year. Man, it sounds like we're making donuts. And I love it. I don't want you guys to misinterpret this, but I'm just telling you, if you don't have your passion aligned with what motivates you, you could really get yourself in a pickle here.
That's exactly right.
And that leads us to the next one, podcasting. This is what I started out with in 2006. Here's a sad fact. I had Daniel go pull this for me because I had heard share of the year discussions from, I think it was Podcast Movement this year. Listen to this. 75% of podcasts are no longer in production.
That's kind of wild for me to think about because, Brian, you started podcasting back in 2006, one of the very early ons. 75% of the shows that have come and gone have happened in the life cycle we've been doing this little engine that could. That's kind of crazy.
No, it's because how many financial advisors have found out that we've done podcasts? Now, there's some successful ones, by the way, because we were just at FinCon, and we're friends with some of these guys, and it makes me so happy to know that in some little way our fingers are in the recipe, and I love that. That actually is somewhat very fulfilling. But I do know there's a lot of, like, we had a neighbor down in Georgia, business. He said he saw how we were doing well with podcasting, so guess what he did? Started a podcast with much fanfare from the local media. 2 months later, he's no longer doing podcasts. So only 20% of podcasts produce fresh episodes in the last 90-day period is what the research shows.
That's crazy to think about, too.
So the majority of the content is coming from not that many content creators because there's just a lot of one-offs where people create 4, 5, 10, 20 shows and then they disappear. They waste away. So how do you do content creation right? Let's tell you how to win at content creation. The first thing is make sure you have your why tied down.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, okay, well, how do you guys do it? And how have you been doing it for so long? And here's what I think is really interesting, Brian. The only thing that's different about the show that we do versus our everyday life is that there's cameras in front of us and there's microphones in front of us. All the time, we talk about this stuff anyways. We just go back and forth with it. I think understanding your why and why you're doing it and really being able to hone in the passion behind it is the thing that's going to keep it going. If you're just doing it because you want side income or a side hustle, it's going to be really hard to have that staying power, I feel.
If money's your motivator, you're doing it wrong. And that leads to, we talked about being consistent. If you want to, here's a tip if you're just starting out. Collaborate. We're horrible at this, but I can tell you going to FinCon, Podcast Movement, other conferences, people who are collaborating, meaning they're inviting other people to be on their shows, going on other people's shows to cross-pollinate those audiences, it works tremendously. So definitely collaborate. And then here's another tip. Use an editorial calendar. That way when inspiration, creativity hits you, you actually are there to take advantage of it. And we use an app called Workflow.
Yeah, I think it only took us 10 years of doing that wrong to get it right. I think it was 1 decade before we actually figured out that could actually make the content better.
So that's, so there's a little tidbit for all the people that are kind of my miners looking for little things. Workflow is a great content management because you can drag and drop, move stuff, collaborate. Really cool stuff there. But editorial calendar, where you write down those ideas, is going to help you tremendously. So I feel like we've given tips, but we've kind of poo-pooed a little bit on real estate. We've poo-pooed on content creation.
I just don't think that either one of them really seem very passive.
So we're starting to realize that passive might require a little more active and elbow grease. This is not something where you're drinking the Mai Tai cocktail and money's just showing up in the mailbox like it's been pitched. So let's talk about, now that I've kind of thrown cold water, there is one that I think truly is passive income. And this is the one we're talking about all the time with your army of dollar bills, and that's investment income.
Yep.